The wait is over. The Ashes are finally upon us. This is what we do podcasting for. We've had a week off from podcasting, but not necessarily a week off from each other. We've been in London watching the World Test Championship final, which Australia have come out victorious. I'm Rob Taylor. This is George Bottomley. Good evening to you.
Good evening.
I want to apologise for my attire. I've had one of those days coming straight from the office, so I've tried to make myself look as summerly as possible.
Yeah.
Roll the sleeves up.
Yeah. It's warm up here. It's really warm.
Yeah, we get all the elements here. When we do winter podcasts, we get the hail, the snow, we get the cold chill.
Yes,
it's like a temperature that's very
extreme microclimates.
Extreme, yeah. It's got like its own mood.
Yeah. So the Oval,
we had a good weekend, didn't we?
Yeah, my favourite cricket ground by far. I think I'm putting it up there.
It's exceeded Old Trafford.
Yes, that's not too hard, is it? I prefer it to Lords. I think it's just got a little bit more of a balance between that kind of allowing that carnival atmosphere and also
keeping tradition at the same time.
Keeping tradition, yeah.
What did we do? It's quite fascinating because if you've not been to the Oval, if you are a northerner that doesn't venture down south for cricket, it's kind of adopted this sort of green mentality, this sort of a look towards the future world. It's got railings or like netting all around the ground, which has sort of allowed like natural flowers to grow, hasn't it?
Yeah,
that was quite impressive. What else did impress you?
I like the walls around the London grounds. I was saying that to a friend earlier this week. I like that kind of old and new coming together.
Mm-hmm.
All the history on the walls of the London grounds. Obviously, that brilliant kind of like pavilion entrance when you walk down from the train station.
Give you the dues. They do that well in England with cricket grounds, don't they? They don't overbuild them where they've got ridiculous capacities. A bit like what they do in Australia. I know they lend a lot of those to Aussie rules, but you look at stadiums like the Gabba and like Perth, the Optus Stadium, they sort of lack that sort of cricket heritage. And in England, we tend to sort of build around them, don't we?
Yeah.
So in Old Trafford, you've got the new dimensions of the red sort of letterboxes, haven't you? And then they've still kept the pavilion. Same with the Oval. And they've used the contours quite well to still make it a great place to view cricket.
It's the perfect place, London, for a neutral venue, isn't it? I know that the Indians have been moaning.
We'll get to that, won't we?
For a while.
I mean, yeah, it was the first time we'd been to a test match that wasn't hosted by England, or England weren't participating in. And I think we really enjoyed the experience, didn't we?
Yeah, no, I loved it. I thought the Indian fans were brilliant.
They sang some pints, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. That carnival atmosphere. It was Friday when we went.
So that was day 4, wasn't it? Day 3, day 4?
Day 3?
Day 3.
Day 3, yeah. Day 3. I thought it was brilliant, that morning session where India was starting to kind of develop a comeback. Rahane was batting brilliantly.
Yep.
Thakur was giving him support from the other end. And Australia dropped a few catches. And it was starting to build that kind of, it felt like, not a Headingley-esque, but where the wheels start to fall off with Australia sometimes, and the Indian fans were loving it, and we were likewise.
This was the beauty of Test cricket, because we always say that the massive appeal about it, and we'll refer back to Lawrence Booth when he said the stories to tell. Something was kind of unfolding, wasn't it? From a position of dominance that Australia were in, that morning session on day 3, when, like you say, Rahane stuck around with Thakur as a sort of underling to him, there was a sense of frustration building amongst the Australians, wasn't there? We saw at the end of that session, Cummins kick the ball, and you just felt if this can carry on, the Test match has the potential of being turned on its head here.
Yeah, it was really moving towards kind of, add a few more. You start getting
catch, on missed fields, balls were happening.
And then, obviously, after lunch, Rahane goes to a brilliant catch from Cam Green.
Oh, man.
And
so good.
That really changes the day, really, the momentum.
I think, in truth, they were kind of behind the 8 ball the whole game, weren't they, India? I mean, for me, they got the selection completely wrong. It doesn't take a genius to sort of say, why is the world's highest test-ranked bowler, I think he is, not included in this. They have a real bother with picking Ashwin in overseas conditions, don't they, particularly in England?
I think it's crazy that with the weather that we've had, I mean, with the internet, you only have to look at a few weather reports to realise what the weather's been like in London recently. It's obviously going to be dry. It's obviously going to be turn. We saw Lyon get 4 wickets on the last day.
Yeah.
I think Ricky Ponting said it well in terms of it felt like India had picked a test 11 for the first day.
Yeah.
you know, and if they'd got through to when they went through, if they had Ashwin and Jadeja there, it would have been the perfect pair. I think sometimes when Bumrah's not in that side, particularly in England or when they're out of India, they start to second guess themselves. And they think, well, what did we do last time? Well, that didn't work. And I think actually you just pick your best bowlers.
Are India sort of a victim of overplaying to their own conditions at home? So they're undercut when they travel?
I mean, you could, if you were thinking about this game, you could equally say that Australia never play away from home, and they did all right.
I mean, it just looked so pedestrian, didn't it, with Yadav and Thakur bowling there. The Australians don't get flustered by the sort of miles per hour that those guys were throwing down. It seemed a little bit samey. I think out of all the bowlers, I think that Siraj looked the most threatening. Certainly the second innings against Australia. He was getting some really good sort of bounce and bowling good lines there. But I look at that attack and I look at India under Ravi Shastri and Virat Kohli as captain when they came to Lords, and it was Bumrah, it was Shami at the other end, it was Siraj first changed, Ashwin from spin. I think Jadeja was bowling a little bit as well. It was fraught with danger, and it just felt a little bit like this. If you didn't catch Australia on the momentum, a Travis Head, a Carey to an extent, obviously Steve Smith and Labuschagne, we know what they can do. They can suffocate the game. It felt very easy for them, very familiar to when England went to the Ashes in 2017 and they had no pace. They just had Wokes, Jake Ball, Broad, Anderson. They got cosy. And once Australia get into a group, particularly those people who bat 3 and 4, you're in real problem there, aren't you?
I think the problem is when you're coming up against a side that have the talent of Labuschagne and Smith. You can't afford not to play your world-class bowlers. You can't look at the conditions and say, "Oh, not that the conditions warranted it," but you can't look at the team and say, "Well, we might just try this kind of balance." You have to say who's most likely to get Smith out. Thakur or Ashwin. Yadav or Ashwin. It's 9 times out of 10 the answer is going to be Ashwin. The other thing that I think that was really silly is if you had Ashwin, Thakur, and Jadeja, for example, drop Yadav out, your batting lineup's extended because Ashwin can hold a bat.
It looked very, very what's the word? Very alarming. Jadeja coming in so soon. I mean, he's obviously a very competent batsman, very good world class player, but it just looked a little high for him where he was.
But coming in at 6. Sorry, I thought you meant coming into the bowling. Batting at 6. That is the balance that they lose with losing Pant. It's a massive step down.
You felt, I said it to you when we sat there, Pant's the sort of player where against the ropes, within a heartbeat, he can almost be in the ascendancy with the way he expresses himself and the way he has very little fear. We met a couple of Indian fans on the tube, didn't we? And they were saying Bharat's, average isn't overly high. So there's concerns about depth there, I think, in the Test team once Pant's not available.
And Pant obviously is a unique cricketer. And you're not going to get loads of Rishabh Pants. Just as equally, if Ben Stokes gets injured for England, it's impossible to replace.
I want to do something now that I don't feel comfortable doing. Can we have a look at Australia and give them some praise? Because I think they were exceptional in this Test match, weren't they?
Well, I think that's conversely what India didn't have. So India were missing Bumrah, were missing Pant, didn't have their world-class players. You look at Australia and they have world-class players, 1 to 11 pretty much. And they all performed, didn't they, really? Head, 100, Smith, 100. Warner nearly got a 50.
It's one of those things. I was at work on day one. The first person I see is Steve Smith. Do you know the first shot I see? He slides to off stump and plays it off leg, and I'm thinking, oh my fucking God, it's happening again, isn't it? It's like that. It's like that prolific dream you have that continuously haunts you, that has some kind of like mental relation to problems in your life.
It's so attritional. It's just there's nothing particularly flamboyant about it. There's nothing appealing on the eye about it, but it's so effective.
Do you know they have like sayings about, like they say, like if you get bit by a yellow snake in a dream, represents something like you've got discontent in your life.
Go on.
I think a vision of Steve Smith represents kind of like money problems or it would be a dream that would have that kind of
like money falling out of your pocket. There's nothing you can do about it.
All you're seeing is this sort of like ugly looking technique that's somehow still genius, just grinding you out and making every ball ordinary. I hope Ben Stokes has got some ideas. I really do.
I know. I just look down this kind of scorecard now, and you look at it in the first innings. Who got wickets for? Who got runs for Australia? Smith 100, Head 100, Warner got a 40, Carey got 48. You look at the bowling in India's first innings. Who's got wickets? Cummins got 3, Stark's got 2, Boland's got 2, Cam Green's got 2.
Yeah.
Australia in the second innings, Labuschagne gets a 40, Green gets a 25, Carey gets a 60. It's the perfect warm-up game. Everyone's coming out of that thinking, apart from Khawaja, everybody comes out of that game. Lyon gets a 4 in the second innings.
It's the perfect warm-up, isn't it, in
brilliant
terms of, obviously, I know
Australia.
that the stakes are high. Just a little thing on the World Test Championship, because the fallout from this, I think, from India has been pretty pathetic.
Yeah.
What sort of things have we heard? Let's try and round them off. I've heard that it shouldn't be played in June. It should be played in March.
Yeah.
Because it collides with the IPL. I've heard it should be a 3-match Test series. I heard that Cameron Green's a cheat because the way he catches the ball. Do you want to break some of these things down for me and sort of tell me your thoughts, and I can come back to
the
them?
So the first 2 points, I think, slightly contradict themselves.
I need to apologise for keep doing this with my nose. It's a massive hay
We're
fever
all
issue I've
struggling.
got.
We're all struggling.
Yeah.
So the first 2 points slightly contradict themselves. So we want a 3-match series, so it doesn't collide with the IPL.
Yeah.
But we want it in March. The IPL's starting in April, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, how are you fitting that in? We can only just fit one match in. I don't think we've got the luxury of having a 3-match series. As much as I think most Test fans would love a 3-match series as the final, it's not doable. I do think there is a massive benefit from having this game in London.
Reasons?
Just the diverse population of London gives it a really good atmosphere, pretty much, no matter who's playing. You know, if that was Australia, New Zealand, I think you'd get a decent turnout. If it was England versus Pakistan, I think you get a great turnout.
Yeah.
So I think
that's why the administrators have pointed it towards him, because they know they'll get that. It gets it a head start. It gets it momentum. As a theory, because we pit holes in the World Test Championship, haven't we? We've come up with our own solution as a podcast. But is that it giving them? Is that the ICC trying the best to sort of give it the best start possible?
Yeah, I think there's not a lot of franchise cricket going on at that time at the moment. Say you had it in January in South Africa.
Yeah.
You've got to suddenly kind of work out, well, where's it going to fit amongst all the franchise cricket that's going on in January? And also, I think there's an element of there's a 2-year cycle. If you had it in Australia in the winter, like, does your cycle start or stop? Like, when does it start and when does it stop? It kind of has a natural rhythm and routine by having it in the same country every year, every 2 years, I suppose. I know it's not particularly fair to all fans. You would like to have it in more countries, as our Test Roadshow kind of tries to, but we're working in a very imperfect model. And I do think having the final in London is the best compromise in that imperfect model.
Maybe. I'll tell you what, Shubman Gill disappointed me. He's a fine young cricketer, isn't he? But he's really taken aback by this kind of grey area of a catch, wasn't it? That can only be described as in the first innings when him and Rohit Sharma got off to a pretty decent start. I mean,
is it the first or second?
It's the second innings, it was given out, when they were chasing that mammoth total down. I just think what's annoying about this is it wasn't even that big a pivotal part of the game.
No.
Do you know what I mean? In regards to that, he could have still stayed in, and there was a really tough chance they were still chasing a total like this down.
Yeah.
But is this a new era of Indians? Have we got is the superpower nature of this country now throwing its weight a little bit?
I think the Kohlis, the Gills of the world, maybe not Gill, more Kohli. Kohli's had a bit of a culture of liking to put pressure on at times. He is a character in the field, lots of histrionics.
Weren't shy of calling out suspects in the game.
Yeah.
Do you remember when he sort of mouthed off into the stumps at South Africa at Superstar or Supersport, the South African broadcaster?
And, you know, like the Australians carried on a bit like that for a time, didn't they? Before Sandpaper Gate. Indians, I'm not accusing them of kind of cheating or anything like that along the lines of Sandpaper Gate, but have decided to kind of, it seems, play in a more aggressive manner, both off the field and on the field, putting pressure on officials. I don't think it's a good look. It reminds you of the kind of like stuff that you see in football with the Mourinho teams. Ultimately, fans don't love it once it gets pushed beyond a boundary. I think you have to be careful of that. And cricket, has usually been good at kind of managing that kind of pressure.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, he's not just mouthed off. He's put on his Instagram story. He's made it publicly aware that he's disapproves the decision.
I think he's put it on Instagram, Twitter.
Yeah.
I think there was another one.
So anyone who's played cricket, we have a complete different tolerance to the way we treat officials than we do at football, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like it was always a no, wasn't it? Anything disregard to the umpire, anything like that.
And he's been punished.
Dissent.
Yeah, significantly. I think he's lost 115% of his match
So he's had
fee.
to pay to play.
He's had to pay to play, which all club cricketers up and down the land are paying to play. So Shubman Gill joins them.
Fork out for a Test match.
Oh, I think it'd be probably a horrible experience, to be honest. So like Mitchell Stark bowling that, yeah, I don't think I'd pay much.
We'll get to that, but yeah, I mean, out for India have covered themselves in glory. I do believe it's an anxiety of another missed opportunity for an ICC trophy.
Yeah, and we have said, are they going to be destined to be like the English football team and have the greatest league, but not the international silverware?
It still means there's a lot to be said that India still haven't mastered it in England.
Yeah,
in general, I think that, like we said with the elephant, the conditions, they've got a lot of skillful players, but they seem to fall short in a lot of occasions. Even the England series they dominated. In the end, England drew that series for the reverse fixture, which they obviously fled. They had England on the ropes at that point.
Yeah,
there seems to be miscalculations there, doesn't there? And there's fallout now. People are questioning: is Dravid the right man? It's a classic example of when a superpower team or a sporting premium any sport fails.
Yeah,
there's always inquest.
Yeah,
there'll be inquest if England loses Ashes. There'll be inquest from Australia if they lose his Ashes. It's part and parcel of what comes of being a cricket nation of this size.
I wouldn't say that Dravid's the issue because I think
the wall.
What's he called? I don't know where I was going there. Ravi Shastri made the same mistake. Of
I quite like Ravi Shastri's India.
Yeah, I know, but I think what I'm saying is management teams outside of Dravid, multiple of them now have made the same mistake of leaving out Ashwin and not playing Ashwin and Jadeja in England. So I don't think it's a Dravid. I think that India are just at the end of a cycle. We've not seen Kohli score loads of runs over the last few years. Rohit Sharma feels like he's kind of drying up a bit now. I think.
Has he retired?
Has he retired?
I'm pretty sure he's retired. Yeah, unless I've seen some kind of like parody account, which is very possible.
Well, if he has retired, that's the end of an era there. So you asked that, and I think that's the great kind of disappointment of what's happened with Rishabh Pant is he was kind of at the precipice of leading this team, not being the captain, but kind of showing a new way forward. Next era of himself, Gill, Siraj, taking over from your Shamis, your Sharmas, your Kohlis. That's kind of been that's been put on pause now. I think India needs to start to transition away from Rahane can't do it forever, Pujara can't, Kohli can't. Who are the next cabs off the rank?
Yeah, they've been they've had some great wins as well. I think that the 2 series wins in Australia will define that sort of legacy of this team.
Of course.
But I don't know, it did have a nice feel to it at the end. Australia won. I actually felt with the mace and the celebrations, it did have in the end a little bit of relevancy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I looked at it and thought it's clearly taken seriously by both sides.
Yeah,
I still think there's work to be done. Obviously, with the clarity and the fixtures, and that'll rumble on as we sort of like grapple with franchise cricket. Yeah. But all in all, I think a good day out, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, brilliant. I'd go again.
Yeah,
would you?
Yeah, I think I'd go again.
Yeah,
but I think we're pushing our luck. I think Ahmedabad might be the next choice.
Yes, marching Ahmedabad. That'll be all right.
Interesting. We'll see. Right. The main event, what we've all come for, what we did this podcast for in the first place, our roots to cricket, our means to end, our holy grail. The Ashes is back on Friday, first test, Edgbaston. We'll get to obviously our thoughts and feelings and predictions to this because we want to provide an independent sort of look. There's plenty of opinions if you seek them. Glenn McGrath has a tedious one all the time. Many others have mentioned what they think and what they'll think will happen. But the great thing is it's so poised because it looks so unpredictable. We've got this brand of cricket which is has been in a short period of time massively successful, and we've got an Australian side that's touring now that everything seems in line, doesn't it? From every single department. First of all, England were dealt a little bit of a significant blow, weren't they, when Jack Leach was ruled out of the entire series with a back stress fracture.
Yep.
How did you feel about that? Because you've always been a big Leach advocate, haven't you?
Yeah, and I think that most English fans, if they've got any sense about him, should be gutted about the Leach thing, because Stokes has really given Leach a new lease of life, given him confidence. He's been bowling well for Stokes, and it's been a massive part of allowing Stokes to have a spinner that his seamers can bowl around. So I think it is a massive blow for everybody, every England fan, that Leach won't be in the side. However, Moeen feels like a very Bazball replacement. In some ways, there was a part of me that thought, is this the spinner Stokes and Brendan would have always chosen if everybody was fit? It's just whether he can do it after such a long time without bowling with the red ball. It must be well over a year now since he's bowled with a red ball.
Well, like you said, a lot of his recent experiences have been a specialist batsman in franchise cricket, haven't they? I mean, he didn't bowl an awful lot in the IPL from what I saw. So I think we're going to lean at I'm sure he does know this, but we're going to lean his bowling a lot more than he actually thinks if he's going to be the main sort of spinner.
Yeah.
He's going to have a big shift on his hands. Look, he's done it before. Has it always paid off against Australia? No. Good times where I've seen Moeen Ali against Australia has been in the series, I think it was. I want to say the last series England won in at home, which was 15, I think it would have been. Coming in in this position, this order of batsmen and getting a quick 20, 30. He seems to do that consistently. Bowling a lot is remains untold with that, but it kind of made sense, didn't it? I think.
I don't think they were ever going to go down the Rayan Ahmed route. If Moeen had said no, I think they would have gone with Liam Dawson. Liam Dawson is more fitting candidate if you wanted someone like Leach to hold up an end. We might see him at some point in the series, you don't know. Ali is a very aggressive option. That's what Bazball's always been about, pick the aggressive option. He doesn't have a good record against Australia. He averages around 20 with the bat, 65 with the ball.
Right.
But in some ways, it's a free hit, isn't it?
Well, it kind of is, because you feel that no matter what spinner England play, Australia are going to target them, aren't they?
Yeah.
And come out. And you can kind of feel like there's a bit of a que sera attitude with Moeen, isn't there? Because even if they attack him and he goes for many runs, all will be forgiven if he takes wickets, vital wickets, especially that of Steve Smith and Marnus Labuschagne.
Well, I think that the wickets that he's more likely to take, they have got a few left-handers, haven't they? They've got Warner's left-hander, Khawaja, Head.
Carey, left-handed?
Carey, left-handed. I'm not sure. I can't think now. Stark definitely is. There's Lyon, I think, is. So,
it puts England in the game, doesn't it?
They've got left-handers there that you can target and be aggressive against. You obviously would be hoping that Khawaja and Warner are out before he's bowling.
Yeah.
But I think even if he just gets the odd 50, or not even that, the odd 30, I think with the way that this series goes, it'll be very tight.
Yeah.
Those kind of runs will be really important.
It's interesting, isn't it? How I think he's, like you said, he said he would only come back for Ben Stokes, and it kind of, you said something to me before we were having something to eat. You don't know how Joe Root feels about all this, doesn't he?
Yeah, I often think that all you ever hear now is how brilliant this new regime is. So fun to play under, not like the old regime, and it's really interesting to think that the old captain is still sat in that changing rooms, and if he was a man less selfless than Joe Root, would they be able to cope with that? Because I suppose it is a direct criticism, really, of what's gone before.
Moeen Ali, on record, is one of my favourite England batsmen to watch. I do often wonder, though, sometimes if he over-eggs this situation of being mistreated. There has to be a balance between accountability for performance and fitting into a team, or almost if like you were set up to fail. He's a really good cricketer.
Yeah.
And he's a sort of cricketer that can easily find himself in a lot of teams.
Yeah.
From his abilities. I don't know if some of the players pin too much blame on an era which was pretty grim for all cricketers. If you look at the COVID Silverwood era, a lot of the Ashes tours were tough. It's almost a little bit like, I know he earns great money, Moeen Ali, but is there a bit of arrogance there? A bit of like,
I definitely wouldn't call it arrogance. I think that there are a couple of players, two in particular, Moeen and Bairstow, that their versatility has often hindered them.
Yeah, that's true.
And with team management that have been less sure on what the style of cricket they want to play,
Yeah.
where they want people to bat, where they want people to bowl, how they want them to bat, how they want them to bowl.
Yeah.
That versatility means that one week you're opening the batting,
Yeah.
next week you're batting 7,
Mhm.
then you're batting 8, then you're batting 6, then you're batting 3. And that lack of continuity, I think, in some characters isn't fruitful for their success.
Yeah.
So I think we've obviously seen Bairstow really succeed under this regime. Hopefully, you could see something similar for Ali. And what I found really interesting in the press stuff that he did a day or two ago, he was saying that he wouldn't rule out this being his final series. Now he's back.
I don't actually. This is Ali. We're still talking about, isn't it? I don't think it actually. It kind of suits if he comes in and does a job and England retain the Ashes. With what England have coming up ahead, you probably would take Rehan Ahmed to India as a bit of a a wild card kind of thing. We kind of it probably suits both parties if he bows out peacefully and then makes way from the spinner. It's just what's at stake with this Ashes. England have not held that urn for a long time, and the immediate sort of impact of losing Leach meant we had to have a kind of just-in-time approach, didn't we?
Yeah.
If you're thinking it from manufacturing purposes,
Right.
We had to have something that was ready-made. We couldn't have something that was half-cooked.
No,
and
I mean, well, he's half-cooked in terms of like his fitness and preparedness for playing. But I know what you're saying. You need someone who's been
an
there
experienced
and done
cricketer.
it. Yeah, you can't have Rehan Ahmed coming off one test. If it would have been Dawson, in my opinion, if Ali had said no. Might still be Dawson at some point in the series if this all goes kaput.
It did cross my mind and wonder whether they may route the lead spinner and they go with another bowler. But that really makes the tail long, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think Stokes has really set out in his mantra of running this side that he wants a genuine spinner. You can't win test matches without having a primary spinner.
Yeah.
So he's stuck to his guns. I don't like the route bowling spin stuff. I just think Steve Smith can bowl leg spin, but you never see the Australians asking him to.
That's just the safeguard of having Nathan Lyon for so long, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's just you don't get your best batsman being one of your primary bowlers as well. You're putting on too much. Anyway, England's 11.
So this was released today. You had not seen this when I came to your house this evening. They've gone for a very familiar batting lineup, haven't they? It's Crawley, Duckett, Pope, Joe Root 4, Harry Brook 5, Ben Stokes 6, Johnny Bairstow with the gloves at 7, Moeen Ali at 8, and then you've got the bowling options of Ollie Robinson, Stuart Broad, and Jimmy Anderson. What's your immediate thoughts to that, mate?
I was slightly surprised. I didn't expect Broad to play in this test match. I thought that they'd want to start with pace. I thought they'd want to get Wood up against Labuschagne and Smith early in the series, give themselves, I suppose, I see our best balanced bowling lineup being a spinner with
a genuine pacer
in Wood, Broad and Robinson.
Not available, Stone, Archer, that kind of thing.
Yeah, Robinson and Anderson opening the bowling. I think Broad is now kind of relegated to being second string if we want to play a fast bowler. But they've gone for the 3 English seamers. I suppose they've gone for experience again. The fitness worries me of them 3. If Stokes can't bowl loads and Ali goes around the park, I think that's what the Aussies will be thinking.
That's their strategy, isn't it? You can see a mile off.
If we can knock Ali off a length and Stokes can't bowl, or Stokes is injured, we'll either end up with Croc Stokes at the end of the test because we've bowled him into the ground.
Yeah.
Or we could have Anderson injured, or Broad injured, or Robinson injured. So there is a balance there, but I think it's just the Stokes ways. Pick the positive approach, I suppose.
Well, I don't think containment's the policy for England bowlers in this Ashes. It's going to be wicket taking.
Yeah.
And what you'll say about that bowling attack, Moeen Ali has a ball in him, doesn't he? Stuart Broad is a man for the moment. We know what Jimmy Anderson can do. We're going to come back to the predictions in a minute, but I believe that the bowler of the series for England this year will be Ollie Robinson.
Yeah,
I think his record. I say it all the time. His record in England is ridiculous. He whether the pitches will suit him, I don't know, but he seems to find answers on all sorts of pitches. He bowled really well in Pakistan. Stuart Broad for me is a big game player. This is more than likely his last Ashes at home and probably in Australia as well. Edgbaston is one of those grounds which moves away from tradition and more for the carnival type atmosphere you described, the Hollies. We'll get some good weather. People will be the field's there. The series is brand new. Everyone's up for it. That kind of thing. I think having a big game play like Broad and get the crowd going and get rallying will allow us to sort of flourish in this Test match. Whereas, excluding Mark Wood for this match, if England lose this Test match and we go with our tried and trusted approach, get the ball swinging, try and get them out, we lose it. Fair play. Steve Smith, the other blinder. At least you've got a kind of plan B going into Lords, which is usually more of a docile wicket where you can unleash some pace, like we did last time. If you think about it, last time we had a similar bowling attack. We lost the Edgbaston test, and then the card up our sleeve was Jofra Archer. So you can come into, you can go, fair enough, that didn't work. We know that pace is needed to unlock this Australian defence. Let's now go with Mark Wood. Or the better effect is that big game players like Anderson and Broad turn up, and we have a positive impact on this Test match. Don't forget, the last time out when Edgbaston was the first Test, we lost Jimmy Anderson in the first innings, and it severely hindered England for the rest of the game.
Yeah. I just wonder how fit Wood is, because with everything that's stuck, unless it's like a massive bluff,
yeah,
and all this thing about fast and flat pitches,
yeah,
and needing a fast bowler in his lineup and everything else, it doesn't feel very Stokes-like to pick the three English seamers over having the option of a fast bowler in his lineup. And I just wonder whether Wood's ready for it yet. I don't think you could have brought Tong in after that. He was good against Ireland, but Ireland were a weak side, and he's not ready for it.
Matty Potts.
I think he's military medium. He's not military medium, but you know what I mean. He's not quick enough.
Yeah. I think he's a banker about, if you're worried about people over bowling and picking injuries. I'm not saying this is a priority, but he's got terrific stamina, Matty Potts, is what I'm impressed with. And he could give you that almost like a spinner does. But
yeah, I think there is that. We might need that at some point in the series. I just really worry. We just saw them, Labuschagne and Smith, when them two are batting together. It feels like when Jaya Warner and Sangakkara used to bat together. You think, how the hell are we going to get these two out? Like two world-class players.
And they look so up for it,
at the top of the game.
We saw them, and we actually left before the end of the game, didn't we?
Because we said no point.
We said, I'm going to watch enough of this summer. So we walked out to get some beers. Steve Smith got bored in effect, and that's why he got out. I didn't see Labuschagne's dismissal, but it's coming after the back of an evening session, isn't it?
Yeah. So that is my only concern, is whether we just end up kind of giving them exactly what they're looking for.
Are you content with the batting?
The batting's, exactly what you'd expect.
Harry Brook, excited to see him?
Yes, obviously a little bit undercut himself, but I don't think he's a player. Well, in some ways, I suppose Michael Everton says the way that Harry Brook did really well last summer was he played loads of red ball cricket for Yorkshire, and he was flying when he came into the England side. I suppose it's a little bit different for him now, but it's the life of a modern cricketer. If he wants to play these franchise leagues, this is what Butler, Root, Bairstow, they all do it year in, year out. So you've got to learn to juggle your schedule. It's exciting. England are a really exciting side.
Yeah.
Australia are ominous. You saw them. That's a world-class cricket side, isn't it?
Yeah, they'll take some beating. They'll be the biggest test for them. Let's have a look at the Aussies. We're not TTM aren't known for breaking news, but I've not yet seen the Australian lineup. But I think the biggest conundrum they've faced is, do they drop Boland? He seems to be the kind of answer, or like the secret weapon to sort of dissemble Bazball, doesn't he? That's the way he's being sort of touted in the media. I mean, Boland's pretty impressive, but is he just a bowler that suits English conditions? Is he just line and length? He bowled some good spell. He picked up some good wickets, but can England take him? Is he going to be? Is he going to cause us problems? Where are we at with that?
He's a good replacement for Hazelwood.
Yeah.
I think that him being the antidote for Bazball might be seeing Bazball in slightly the wrong way. I think a bowler like Stark is more likely to be dangerous against Bazball because it becomes a bit of a one-day game.
So someone who'll look for like a Yorker or something like a cutter or something with a bit of spontaneity. Exactly
that. If we think about that game where Australia blew us away in the 2019 World Cup at Lords.
Yeah.
Stark was brilliant in that. Ripping through our lineup, Yorking Stokes. And that's the kind of spell he could give you if we're really attacking.
Probably Australia's quickest bowler. Yeah. Does it play into our favour?
No, he'll go for runs, but I think if you were playing Bazball, if you were playing aggressive cricket versus aggressive cricket, you'd probably like to have someone like Stark in the lineup.
There's a lot of talk about whether England will. Steve Waugh's come out and said, "I'd like to see if they've got a plan B for this."
Yeah.
What I want to know, have Australia got a plan B?
Yeah.
If England come out and bamboozle them and they think their bowlers are just going to, skittle us for 35, 50, 50
Yeah.
in an innings or something like that, what happens when England put 500 on it in a day and then get it to 600? Is Steve Smith and Labuschagne going to bat for the draw?
I know. And if we look at the history of the two cultures of the changing rooms,
Yeah.
obviously different captains, but Stokes seems to have gone for the Morgan approach of when it failed for Morgan, it wasn't plan B, it was plan A on steroids.
Yeah.
We double down on this. We go again. We'll fail sometimes, but we go again. If we look at Tim Payne at Headingley, they had plan A, they had plan B, they had plan C.
And all three of them at once, didn't they?
Yeah.
Mixed together. Heads rolled, didn't they?
They can get nervy, this Australian side.
Crowd as well.
So it's whether you need a plan B or whether you say, no, we know our plan A, we stick with our plan A, and it's kind of who blinks first. I think there is a bit of that, who blinks first on this one.
There's a lot to say. For as good as a team Australia are, when they played England last time out, England were a lot weaker proposition, obviously. Yeah. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
Steve Smith had the series of his life, and they still drew. So what I'm saying is, I don't think you can discount how hard it is to win in England against England, no matter what the side of opposition. The crowd play a massive impact, especially at grounds like Edgbaston. You can soon, like you said, the game can get away from you. A few missed fields, a few songs, a few pissed up people in the stands, and Australia can find themselves frustrated. We saw glimpses of that in this last game. It's whether the theory and the philosophy of Bazball lends it to that kind of atmosphere. Do you know what I mean? People getting excited and giddy in the stands.
Oh, it should do.
It should lend its hand perfectly to entertainment factor.
Yeah.
And for a day out of the cricket in the sun on £7 pints of Fosters, maybe that's something that will lead to England's element of surprise.
Yeah.
I think that's what, if England are going to win this, I think they've got to shock Australia.
And that is my worry, is we've been so bold, we've been chatting so much, I get so scared that these birds are going to come through the roof, mate.
Yeah.
They've been so bold, they've been so noisy about how they're going to play, that Australia aren't going to be surprised about England coming out being aggressive. Australia just almost have to say, what's our best way to beat an aggressive England? Is it to be aggressive back?
Yeah.
Or is it to completely step away, be calm, composed? I think that's the way that Cummins will go. I think they'll go for a bit of a stats-based approach. It feels like it could be, this is a big shout, close to 2005 levels of, competitiveness, intensity.
I find myself changing my opinion every day about how this series is going to pan out. If you'd asked me a couple of months ago, I said I think England are going to trounce all over Australia. The times there, you said they're over the hill.
Yeah.
Quote by you, and it wasn't an unreasonable thing to say, when you look at the age of some of the players, Warner struggling for form. But I don't want to use cliches. When people say, like, in derbies, form goes out the window.
Yeah.
It kind of works the same in Ashes, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Even like we look at last time, a mediocre England team raised the game at Headingley. The top players, Ben Stokes, turned up. Things always happen in there, and that's why we love it, and that's why it's still in everybody's. It's the corner piece of everyone's cricketing foundation, isn't it?
This is the summer. Every 4 years we wait for this summer. As soon as this, whatever happens this summer, we'll be looking ahead to the one in Australia. We'll be looking ahead to after that, the one in England.
Yeah.
This is this is where you make your money as an England cricket captain.
Yeah.
Stokes has done a brilliant job so far, but this is where this could make you a legend, or it could make you end your career, kind of thing. It's one of those series, isn't it?
You definitely can. So many play. I do, and must admit, I do enjoy watching some of the Ashes recaps and like the interviews and stuff like that. It's one of my most favourite things to do.
I do think Sky needs to start like bringing out.
David Gower went to play once,
Yeah, I know. Fuck you.
Mothball, was it?
I know. That with Charles Colville, it gets a bit much, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's nice to see old faces, particularly ones that aren't around anymore, like the Bob Willises. And this time, Warney. It's the first Ashes series without Shane Warne. It's going to feel a little bit hollow.
Yeah. I mean, imagine Warne commentating on a
he loved
Bazball versus Australia.
Yeah.
You could almost see him vicariously living through Stokes' team in some ways. It almost feels like his head and his heart would be pulling in different directions there of how he likes to see the game. It'd be brilliant.
Huge miss.
Yeah.
Have you thought of any? Are you bold enough to make a prediction? And when I say prediction, don't just give me the prediction. I want you to give me a run through of obviously how you think it'll run, how you think that will form that sort of scoreline, if you make sense.
So I think I've just seen the Birmingham weather and it doesn't look good.
Right. 1-0.
If the weather's fair, right, set fair and you get a result, or you get enough cricket to get a result, I think it'll be 3-2 either way.
See, I was thinking 3-2 as well.
I don't think there'll be a draw unless it's weather-based.
I don't think there'll be a draw.
So I think you'll always end up it'll be a 2-1, a 2-2, a 3-2.
Yeah.
And the only determinant of it not being a 3-2 either way would be weather. I think after watching Australia, India, and I know it's classic me being pessimistic, but I suddenly remembered how good this side is. And I think they didn't win it last time. They'll be really disappointed they didn't win it here last time. I don't think they're cocky and complacent like the 2005 Australian side could be accused of. And I think they've just won that World Test Championship and they'll be right up for solidifying themselves as one of the best ever Australian sides. And if they win this Ashes, Australia haven't won an away Ashes 2001, so it'll be 22 years since then. Oh, yeah. I just think they've got enough.
Right, here's what's going to happen.
Go on.
England will bat first at Edgbaston. This is
Right,
what they've got to do.
Really specific.
This is what they've got to do.
This.
I want us to come out first day, no matter what the condition is, whatever thing. I want us to bat, and I want us to get the biggest total and send the biggest signal to them in the world. Get 300 after the morning session. That's a bit bold, but you know what I'm trying to say. Really stamp their authority on the game. Win the Edgbaston Test. You know, again, taking 10 wickets per innings in the fastest way possible, racking up the score, putting pressure, shell shot them the first game. All this, they've questioned Bazball. Can they do it against us? I want a shell shot them there. I think we'll see a bit of a backlash at Lords. They have a good record at Lords. Lords is the second test, isn't it? Same format as last time. If it's not, we've made a massive error, but hey ho. Australia come back at Lords, and then you've got the Northern Grounds, haven't you? Headingley and Old Trafford. Should be ideally prime for Bazball, carnival atmosphere. England getting carried away. We go 3-1 up from those two games, and Australia win the consolation game at the Oval.
I think.
And we let people like Warner and Smith have a little bit of a wave to the crowd kind of thing. Maybe Broad as well, but they'll all be emphatic Test matches. And I'm sad we're only going to one. We need to find some sort of tout or like.
We do.
Some of those Cockney guys at the Oval train station.
It's really.
I could pull it off.
Why touts are always
Cockneys?
Cockneys?
All touts are always proper Cockney wide boys. You never get some like guy in a suit offering a genuine ticket.
Even like Burnley, England, he's still Cockney.
I feel like he's going to get the ticket and then punch me.
I don't know why I said Burnley, England then.
Could happen.
What was I going to say then? So what your prediction is almost is it? There's so many elements of 2005. The Edgbaston 2005 first day we scored 400. Massive total at the time. So you're asking us to push it even further. Score 600 in first day. Come at them at Lords. That's like Harmison.
Yeah, we want. I want knife edge stuff. I want continuous words. I want fallouts. I want. I googled it. This is how obsessed I am for it. I googled Peterson and Mitchell Johnson, where Peterson keeps moving away from his stumps, and then Johnson launches the ball, and there's a feud and stuff like that. I want get ready for a broken arm. I want why are you chirping now, mate? I want all the stuff that makes us love this derby of a game, this old enemy, this old battle that we've got.
Go on then. I'm gonna ask for some predictions off you now.
Just said 3-2.
No, different predictions.
Okay.
Who's most likely? Who are the players most likely to retire? Which players most likely for their Test career to end this series? You can't have Moeen Ali because
if Warner has a shocker,
I reckon he's gone.
I think he calls it a day.
Right. Warner over Broad. Not to have a shocker to call it a day.
No, I think if Broad has a good series, I think he might call it a day.
Yeah.
There's bits of Broad. There's a stubbornness in him, so I think, and he loves cricket, and he's a brilliant legend for England cricket. He represents England so well. Potential swan song there. Australia have got a couple, haven't they? I mean, there was rumours knocking about at the end of the Australian summer that Steve Smith was kind of losing a little bit of love for the game.
Mad.
I don't know.
That'd be crazy.
If they got next year, they've got someone like we've got West Indies at home. I don't know, which is a bit of a cash-in summer by all accounts. But I don't know. I think so. I think Warner will be subject to obviously performance.
I don't think Anderson will go unless he gets injured.
No, Broad, I think, is there.
There's talk
Australia.
of Jonathan Agnew stepping down after this
Oh, right,
series.
so we're beyond players, are we?
Yeah, well, that's another thing I've seen.
Lovely voice, Jonathan Agnew, isn't he?
Nina was asking me, what do you
Yeah,
think about him? I was watching the Amazon Test series last night, saying he is the voice of the summer to me.
Yeah.
You know, listening to TMS
I
in the
sincerely
car.
hope that's not true, you know.
Well, he's getting on.
It's the kind of fashion, isn't it, though? All the long-term people go, don't they?
Yeah.
We lost Jeff Stelling this year, didn't we?
Yeah, you've got to go
Not,
at some
not
point.
obviously just retired.
Yeah,
I don't mean we lost him.
Yeah. You can put your feet up and retire at some point.
Yeah.
And Ash is a good series for it. Probably, if I had to pick any of them, I'd probably pick Warner over Broad and Agnew. Have another summer of Broad and Agnew.
It's certainly the last time in England, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's the end of an era. We've had a fantastic era of Steve Smith and Warner. Mitchell Stark probably is
not going.
No, I mean in England though.
Yeah.
I'm evolving this conversation.
Smith can go for another 4 years.
You think?
Yeah, of course he can. I want Smith to go and break Ponting's record.
Yeah.
Because he is good enough.
Mm.
But not this year. Not this year. You know.
What else gets you in the Ashes mood? I
This
think you know what's really disappointing me? Sky's coverage of it, like preview.
Crap.
We had over the years, we had the Billy Joel song, you know, We Didn't Start the Fire.
Yeah,
we had like Bumble, everyone singing over that. Matt Butcher did is it the Bob Dylan song, The Times Are Changing? He did that. There's always a great Sky have been great for putting together video footage. But this year it looks like they just give it to like the work experience guy who said, by the way, there's a bit of a test series going on.
I think they've got really caught up, and we're not 100 critics particularly.
No.
But I think they've got really confused with what they're doing Sky at the moment, because the T20 Blast is never on TV. That used to be a staple of the English summer.
An enjoyable thing to have on, isn't it? After work kind of thing, isn't it?
So it feels like we've been preparing for this Ashes series. There's not even been that much cricket on TV, other than that World Test Championship.
We're just relying on the old guard to throw in with the old word, aren't we?
Yeah. I watch YouTube for it now, Lancashire TV. So anyway, this computer looks like it's turning off.
Yeah, so we better tell people what we're doing. If you are interested in your short of things to do on day 2 of the first test at Edgbaston, we're doing a live. I've got to be careful. Watch along. I said, can we commentate? And you said that was highly illegal.
I think it's really illegal.
Which was a shame because I was looking forward to doing the shipping forecast.
Sirens outside the attic.
Yeah. So
I think you could potentially do a shipping forecast. We could bring one for you, like a mock one.
Yeah. I've been practicing actually, but for the avid sailors of the community.
You know, if Agnew's off at the end of the summer, there might be a space for you.
Could be potentially. So that'll be good fun. We're going to spend the morning session, I think. Just sort of seeing how that gets on.
First hour or so.
You're going to be the techniques behind that, so we'll release some things on our social media platform.
We will.
Hopefully, by the time we record the next podcast, we are 1-0 up in the series.
Yep.
And all is looking bright.
Harry Brooks century, Anderson 5 for. That'll be perfect, won't it?
You heard it here first. Thank you very much. Take care.
Cheers.